I've watched riders drop $20,000 on bikes that lost half their value before the first oil change. One guy I know is still paying off a loan on a motorcycle he can't even sell for what he owes. Financial devastation doesn't begin to describe it. In this video, I'm exposing the absolute dumbest motorcycle purchases that'll drain your bank account faster than a hole in your gas tank. These aren't just bad bikes, they're financial disasters that have left owners broke, bitter, and walking. Stick around if you don't want to be next. Number 1. Harley-Davidson Street 750. The budget Harley that'll break your budget. You know that feeling when you think you're getting a deal but you're actually getting screwed? That's the Harley Street 750 in a nutshell. Harley's desperate attempt to lure in younger riders with something that wouldn't instantly bankrupt them ended up being a financial nightmare anyway. This bike was supposed to be the affordable entry point into Harley ownership. The marketing pitch was brilliant. Get that bar and shield logo, that Harley prestige, that American heritage, all at a price point that doesn't require a second mortgage. But man, did they cut corners to hit that price target. The 750cc Revolution X engine sounds impressive until you actually own one. These things leak oil like it's part of the design spec. And that's if you're lucky enough not to experience the overheating issues. Around 10,000 miles, many of these bikes develop this weird knocking sound that your mechanic will charge you $800 just to diagnose. But the real pain comes when you try to sell it. These things lose value faster than ice cream melts in July. We're talking 40% depreciation in the first year alone. I've watched guys list 3-year-old models for less than a third of what they paid new and still struggle to find buyers. The electrical system on these is a complete joke. The wiring harness seems designed by someone who was actively trying to create problems. Switches fail, lights go out randomly. The fuel pump likes to take vacations without warning. And don't get me started on the paint quality. I've seen better finishes on children's toys. The stupidest part? For the same money, you could buy a used Japanese cruiser that'll still be running strong when your grandkids are old enough to ride. Hell, a used Yamaha V-Star 950 will outlast cockroaches in a nuclear winter, while the Street 750 is sitting dead in your garage. Number 2. Ducati Diavel, the Italian money pit. While Japanese bikes might keep your bank account somewhat intact, Italian motorcycles turn your financial future into a horror movie. The Ducati Diavel is the star villain of this particular nightmare. Look at it sitting there, all muscular curves and aggressive stance with that roaring 1198cc Testastretta engine promising to melt asphalt. It's the kind of bike that makes people stop taking photos of Ferraris to stare at what's parked next to them. But that visual orgasm comes with a price tag that just keeps on taking. Let's talk maintenance schedules that feel like they were designed by a sadistic accountant. That desmodromic valve system, it's a mechanical marvel that requires specialized technicians charging $400 an hour to adjust. The Diavel demands valve checks every 7,500 miles. That's roughly $1,500 just to have someone tell you if your valves need adjusting. And if they do, add another grand to that bill. Then there's the electrical system that seems allergic to reliability. The sophisticated electronics package is essentially a time bomb of financial ruin. When the dashboard starts flashing error codes, your Ducati mechanic starts planning his Caribbean vacation on your dime. Fault codes that would be a $200 fix on a Japanese bike somehow cost $1,800 on the Diavel. Don't forget the tires designed specifically for this bike that cost twice what normal rubber does. Or the proprietary parts that can only be sourced from dealers who mark them up like they're made from unicorn hide. Even routine maintenance requires specialized tools that most home mechanics don't have. Number 3. BMW R9T, German engineering at its most expensive. Now let's talk about German bikes, where engineering meets extortion. The BMW R9T isn't just expensive to buy at around $16,000, it's a masterclass in ongoing financial bleeding. You know what mechanics call these bikes? Retirement funds. Not for the owners, for the mechanics working on them. Let me break down the real cost of ownership here. The R9T requires specialized BMW servicing that makes Italian maintenance look reasonable. A simple annual service starts around $400. That's just for basic fluid changes and inspections. Need your valve clearances checked? That'll be $800 minimum. The shaft drive service, which you can't skip unless you enjoy catastrophic failures, runs well over $1,200 at most dealers. Then there's the parts. A simple set of brake pads costs triple what you'd pay for Japanese equivalents. The electronic components are sealed systems that only dealer technicians can access with proprietary diagnostic equipment. Even something as basic as an ignition switch will set you back $300 plus labor. The depreciation is where things get truly painful. These bikes lose value faster than free beer disappears at a biker rally. I've seen owners drop $18,000 on a new R9T with a few farkles, then struggle to get $10,000 for it just 2 years later. That's $4,000 per year in depreciation before you even count the maintenance costs. The most ridiculous part? You're not even getting superior performance. A $7,500 Japanese naked bike will match or exceed the R9T's performance specs while costing less than half to maintain. You're literally paying double for that blue and white roundel on the tank and the privilege of telling people, I ride a BMW. Number 4. Kawasaki Ninja 300, the beginner bike that punishes beginners. Let's talk about the Ninja 300, the bike Kawasaki cleverly designed to separate new riders from their money faster than a casino separates tourists from theirs. You've probably seen these little green machines at every beginner riding course across America. They look sexy enough with those aggressive fairings mimicking their bigger ZX brothers. And that's exactly what Kawasaki wants. They've mastered the art of making beginner bikes that look like proper sport bikes while delivering puppy-level performance. Here's where the financial bloodbath happens. New riders buy these things at $5,000 plus, brand new, thinking they're making a responsible first purchase. 3 months later, when they've gained some confidence and need to merge onto a highway at more than 65 miles per hour, that 296cc engine feels about as powerful as a cordless drill. That's when panic sets in, not from riding, but from realizing they need to sell this thing. The depreciation curve on Ninja 300s isn't just steep. It's a vertical cliff drop. I've tracked dozens of these listings over the years. A Ninja 300 with 1,500 miles that's less than a year old typically sells for 35 to 40% below MSRP. We're talking about losing $2,000 in less than a season of riding. What's truly brutal is that most new riders finance these bikes. You'll still be making payments on a bike you've outgrown and can't sell for enough to cover the loan. I've seen guys stuck with $1,500 of negative equity on a beginner bike while trying to finance their upgrade. The math is painfully simple. Spend $800 to $1,000 more upfront for a Ninja 400 or 650 and you'll have a bike you can keep for years. Or better yet, buy a 2-year-old model after someone else has absorbed that catastrophic first-year depreciation hit. 5. Honda CBR 250R. The false economy bike. Now, if the Ninja 300 is a trap for beginners, the Honda CBR 250R is an outright financial ambush. Ever wonder how a company known for bulletproof reliability created a motorcycle that might be the worst investment on 2 wheels? The answer involves a glorified sewing machine engine and depreciation numbers that would make a financial advisor weep. The CBR 250R's single-cylinder 249cc engine struggles to reach highway speeds, topping out at around 85 miles per hour if you're lucky. That might sound fine until you're trying to merge onto a 70-mile-per-hour highway with trucks bearing down on you. Nothing builds confidence in new riders like the terror of full throttle and still getting nowhere fast. Here's where Honda's little money pit really shines, in making your cash disappear. These bikes drop value faster than a rock off a cliff. Buy one new at $4,500, put 2,000 miles on it over 6 months, and you'll be lucky to get $2,800 when you inevitably try to sell it. That's almost 40% of your money gone in half a year. The worst part isn't even the performance or the depreciation, it's the alternatives you could have bought instead. Honda's own CB500F costs just $1,500 more new but holds its value like it's made of precious metals by comparison. Plus, its twin-cylinder engine makes nearly twice the power and won't leave you praying for your life every time you need to pass a semi. Insurance companies don't help either. Despite being a beginner bike, many charge nearly the same premiums as they would for a 500cc machine, without any of the performance benefits. The CBR 250R manages the unique trick of combining high insurance costs with terrible resale value. Number 6. Custom trikes. 3 wheels of financial ruin. If you thought losing 40% on a beginner bike was painful, you haven't experienced the financial obliteration that comes with custom trikes. These 3-wheeled monstrosities represent the worst possible vehicle investment you could make, combining all the inconveniences of motorcycles with none of the benefits, all at luxury car prices. Custom trike builders start their sales pitch with safety and stability. No more balancing at stoplights, they promise. But what they don't mention is the starting price of $30,000 for even a basic conversion. Want something fancy with all the chrome, custom paint, and audio systems? That'll be $50,000 or more, about the same as a BMW 5 Series that actually holds its value. The depreciation curve on these things isn't a curve at all, it's a cliff. A $40,000 custom trike typically loses half its value within 24 months. I personally know 3 different trike owners who couldn't get offers over 40% of what they paid after just 2 years of ownership. One guy spent $45,000 on a decked-out Harley trike and was offered just $18,000 3 years later. That's over $9,000 in depreciation per year. When something breaks, and it will break, you're entering a special circle of financial hell. That custom rear end has proprietary parts that no regular shop stocks. Need a new axle for your one-off trike? That'll be $1,200 plus labor, and you'll wait 3 weeks for it to arrive. Even routine maintenance costs more, because everything takes longer to access. The worst part might be when you finally accept defeat and try to sell. The market for used trikes is microscopic. Most sit for sale for 6 to 12 months before the owner finally accepts a lowball offer just to stop the financial bleeding. Number 7. Yamaha FZ9 MT09, the hidden money drain. Speaking of financial bleeding, at least trike owners know what they're getting into from day one. The Yamaha FZ9 plays a much crueler game, luring riders in with that attractive price tag and peppy engine, then revealing its true nature as a mechanical nightmare only after your warranty card has been shredded. What makes the FZ9 particularly devious is how good it looks on paper. You get an 847cc triple making 115 horsepower in a nimble chassis for around $9,000. Those specs had motorcycle journalists gushing when it launched. But talk to mechanics and long-term owners, and you'll hear a very different story. The cam chain tensioner failure is practically a scheduled maintenance item on these bikes. Around 15,000 miles, conveniently just after the warranty expires, many owners hear that dreaded rattle that signals a $1,100 repair bill. The regulator rectifier has a similar self-destruct timer, leaving riders stranded with dead batteries and fried electrical systems. The first-generation bikes had transmission issues so severe that many owners faced complete rebuilds before hitting 20,000 miles. Imagine dropping $2,300 on a transmission for a bike that only cost $9,000 to begin with. The math just doesn't work. Then there's the fuel injection system that develops mysterious gremlins. Riders report sudden power losses, rough idling, and stalling, problems that can take multiple dealer visits and diagnostic fees to solve. Each time, your bank account takes another hit. Meanwhile, riders on comparable Honda CB650Rs and Kawasaki Z900s are racking up 50,000 plus miles with nothing more than oil changes and tire replacements. They might have paid similar prices up front, but their total cost of ownership isn't even in the same universe. Number 8. Obscure manufacturer models. the parts desert disaster. That reliability we've been talking about with Japanese bikes, it comes with another massive advantage you probably never think about until it's too late: parts availability. Ever tried finding components for some obscure manufacturer's pride and joy? It's like hunting for a unicorn, except the unicorn costs 3 times what it should and takes months to arrive. Look at brands like Benelli, CF Moto, or those defunct companies like Victory. Sure, they look distinctive, and the price tags seem attractive compared to mainstream options. But here's what happens in real life. Your unique motorcycle breaks down, and suddenly you're making international phone calls, joining sketchy forums, and desperately DMing strangers on Instagram who might have the part you need. I watched my buddy Mike go through this nightmare with his Norton Commando. Beautiful bike, truly special, until the ignition system failed. 3 dealerships couldn't help him. 4 months later, he finally found the part in Australia for $900 plus another $200 in shipping. Meanwhile, his investment just sat there, taking up garage space and collecting dust. Even routine maintenance becomes a global treasure hunt. Need brake pads for that MV Augusta? That'll be $180 and a 3-week wait. Oil filter for your Moto Marini? Hope you enjoy paying $45 for something that costs $8 for a Kawasaki. And don't get me started on electrical components. I've seen guys waiting half a year for a simple rectifier. The depreciation on these oddball machines is even more brutal than their maintenance schedule. That Chinese-made CF Moto 700 CLX my neighbor bought lost 60% of its value in 2 years. If he could even find someone willing to take it off his hands. The market for these fringe bikes is microscopic. Number 9. Triumph Bonneville T100, the overpriced nostalgia trip. While those obscure brands tank in value due to parts scarcity, some mainstream manufacturers have perfected a different kind of financial trap. The Triumph Bonneville T100 isn't just another motorcycle. It's a masterclass in marketing nostalgia at the expense of your wallet. Triumph brilliantly packages this bike as the perfect blend of classic styling with modern engineering. But let's do some basic math that Bonneville buyers apparently skip. You're paying around $11,000 for a bike that makes a pathetic 55 horsepower. That's right, your neighbor's 20-year-old Suzuki SV650 that he picked up for $3,000 has more power than your brand new modern classic. The financial bleeding doesn't stop at purchase. These bikes require valve checks every 10,000 miles that'll set you back over $500 at dealerships. The twin shock setup that gives it that authentic vintage look wears out embarrassingly fast, with replacements running about $800 for OEM parts. Even basic maintenance parts carry the heritage tax. Brake pads cost twice what they should. The real fun starts around year 4, right after your warranty expires. That's when these bikes develop an impressive array of expensive problems. My buddy Greg learned this lesson the hard way. He dropped $12,000 on a new Bonnie, rode it for 3 years, putting about 15,000 miles on the clock, then got slapped with $2,500 in repairs during year 4. When he finally gave up and tried to sell it, the best offer he could get was $6,500. That's over $8,000 gone in just 4 years. Number 10. Suzuki Boulevard C50, the outdated cruiser cash grab. You think losing $8,000 in 4 years is bad? At least the Triumph Bonneville gives you modern engineering underneath that retro styling. The Suzuki Boulevard C50 takes a different approach, charging you new bike prices for technology that belongs in a motorcycle museum. Here's the crazy part. Suzuki has been selling basically the same bike since 2005 with only cosmetic updates. That's right, the new Boulevard C50 with its 805cc V-twin is running on engine architecture from the Clinton administration. The fuel injection system was finally added in 2005, and Suzuki apparently decided mission accomplished and stopped development entirely. Yet somehow in 2023, they're still charging $8,500 for this relic. That's nearly $9,000 for suspension technology from the early 2000s, brakes that feel like they're made of wood, and a riding position that hasn't been updated since flip phones were cutting edge. No ABS, no traction control, no riding modes, features that come standard on most bikes in this price range today. The 45 horsepower it makes was unimpressive 15 years ago. Today, it's downright anemic, yet Suzuki keeps churning them out, knowing nostalgic riders and cruiser fans will still pay full price for yesteryear's technology. Even the dealerships know it's outdated. I watched a salesman try to convince a customer that the proven reliability of the unchanged design was actually a selling point. What he didn't mention was that proven really means we haven't bothered to improve it. For that same $8,500, you could buy a 3-year-old Japanese cruiser with modern features and still have money left over for accessories. Or for just $1,000 more, you could get into something like a Yamaha Bolt with contemporary engineering that won't feel like you're riding a museum piece. Number 11. Moto Guzzi V7. Italian charm, financial harm. While that Suzuki is stuck in the past, at least it usually starts when you hit the ignition. Now let's look at a bike that combines old-world Italian charm with new-world problems. A motorcycle that costs you money even when you're not riding it. What's the true price of character when it comes with its own special brand of financial suffering? The Moto Guzzi V7 is what happens when romantic marketing collides with financial reality. You've seen them in coffee shop parking lots, those distinctive transverse V-twin engines jutting out from the sides like mechanical wings. They're undeniably eye-catching, and that's exactly what Guzzi is banking on when they charge $9,000 for a bike with performance specs from the last decade. The electrical systems on these things are legendary for all the wrong reasons. Ask any V7 owner about their experiences with stators or regulators and watch their eye start twitching. One mechanic I know calls them job security on wheels because he's seen bikes less than a year old with complete electrical failures. We're talking about $600 diagnostics just to figure out why the bike suddenly decided it didn't want to charge its battery anymore. The real pain comes from the specialized maintenance. Those sideways mounted cylinders require specific tools and experience most mechanics don't have. A basic valve adjustment starts at $700, nearly double what you'd pay for a comparable Japanese bike. And good luck finding parts quickly when something breaks. I've seen owners waiting 6 weeks for simple components that would be next day parts for a Honda. My buddy Kevin learned this the hard way. He dropped $8,900 on a V7 babied it for 2 years, and still ended up replacing the entire wiring harness and voltage regulator for $1,800. When he finally gave up and sold it, he got a whopping $5,000, losing nearly $6,000 to own an affordable Italian bike for 24 months. Number 12. Royal Enfield Himalayan, the adventure bike that's its own adventure. That $6,000 loss on the Guzzi starts looking downright reasonable when compared to the Royal Enfield Himalayan. This bike isn't just a poor financial decision. It's practically an abusive relationship with your bank account. Royal Enfield markets this as their affordable adventure bike that'll take you to exotic locations. What they don't mention is that the most exotic place you'll visit is the inside of every repair shop between here and wherever you break down next. The Himalayan packs a mighty 411cc engine producing a whopping 24 horsepower. That's not a typo. 24 horsepower to move over 400 pounds of motorcycle. For comparison, that's about what a 1970s Honda put out, except those bikes weighed 100 pounds less. On highways, you'll be pinned at full throttle while semis blow past you like you're standing still. What makes this truly special is the build quality lottery. Some owners get lucky with minimal issues. Most aren't so fortunate. Frame cracks around the headstock and subframe are disturbingly common. The electrical systems seem designed by someone who learned wiring from YouTube tutorials. Fuel delivery systems clog regularly. Engines burn oil faster than they burn gas. I know a guy named Travis who thought he scored a deal on a new Himalayan for $4,500 within 8 months. He'd already replaced the stator, $300, fixed a cracked frame, $450, and dealt with constant carburation issues, $350 more. When he finally gave up and sold it, with under 3,000 miles, he got a whopping $2,200. That's a 75% loss when you include repairs. The punchline? This is their improved version. The first generation bikes were so problematic they got pulled from some markets entirely. So there you have it. 12 different ways to flush your hard-earned cash down the toilet on 2 wheels. These aren't just disappointing motorcycles, they're financial catastrophes with engines attached. The purchase price is just the tip of the iceberg, and too many riders don't see the massive chunk of ice waiting to sink their financial ship underwater. What separates smart riders from suckers is understanding the total cost of ownership. That exotic bike selling for half its original price isn't a bargain, it's a warning. There's always a reason why that dream bike is suddenly affordable. Do your homework, read owner forums, talk to mechanics. Calculate what that bike will actually cost you over 3 years, because at the end of the day, the most expensive motorcycle isn't the one with the highest price tag, it's the one that bleeds you dry after you've already signed the papers.